Hey, what's up everybody? I hope you're having a good afternoon. We are going to be cooking a pretty simple, kind of basic American meal tonight, which is steak. But instead of potatoes, we are going to be making it with some whole wheat gnocchi on the side. Gnocchi is kind of like a potato and wheat pasta, and traditionally it would be boiled and then you put sauce on top of it. But I used to work at a restaurant where the chef would take gnocchi just like this, and he would put olive oil and a little bit of butter. We don't have any butter tonight. And then he would saute it, and he would make it brown on each side, and it just turns out to be this awesome thing to have with steak. And then he would drizzle it with some balsamic reduction. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. All right, so the first thing we are going to do is take some extra virgin olive oil, and we're going to drizzle it a pretty good amount. Olive oil is super good for you, so I always say, like, it's a really good fat. So we're going to drizzle a good amount on there because we want it to be coated. We don't want them to stick to the bottom of the frying pan. Then we're going to take some good pink salt. This is actually really good salt from Utah. I think it's called Redmond's salt. We just got it. It's really tasty, but it's also very salty, so you gotta use it sparingly. And then just some black pepper. And we're gonna just sprinkle some pepper on it, and that's it. So then, all right. So then we're going to, for our vegetable tonight, we're gonna be sauteing up some beautiful Swiss chard that Annie and Karis grew in our garden this year. So look how beautiful that is. It's just amazing. So here's a brighter one right here. But Swiss chard is just, I think it's one of the best leafy greens out there. It's super good for you. I mean, all these dark red colors you can see are just full of antioxidants and good stuff like that. So nature's bounty right here. So we're gonna here shortly, we're gonna let that gnocchi cook for a little bit, and then we're gonna kind of flip them. There's a nice one too. Look at that one. Yeah, I mean, just look at the amazing colors on that. All right, so now that we've got our beautiful Swiss chard from the garden, this is a little trick that I also learned. When I was 19, I started cooking in restaurants, and I used to cook at a beautiful restaurant in Easton that is still there to this day. It's called Out of the Fire. And my chef at the time, Kevin Carney, was an awesome teacher, and he showed us that we would cut the stalks first. So you want to cut those stalks, because if you try and then what you're going to do is you're going to want to put the stalks in first and let them cook up a little bit because they're thicker. Yeah, so you're going to want to put those in first, and then you go ahead and chop the rest, do a rough chop on the rest of the Swiss chard. And when we're ready, we're going to go ahead and put it in a pan with some olive oil, and we'll saute it up. All right, so this is our gnocchi, and the grill is on. It's nice and hot. It's up to about 425 right now, and I can see that the gnocchi is starting to get warm and cook in this olive oil. This one especially, this one looks like it has a nice crust on it, so that's great. So you don't want to mess with the gnocchi too much, so I'm just going to let it kind of do its thing, get a nice crust on one side. I'm going to close this grill and let it get nice and hot. All right, so we are going to check on our gnocchi, and oh yeah, as you can see, it's getting nice and brown on the sides. So, let me find one that's nice and crispy already. So if you can kind of see that, it's nice and crispy, and that's what we want. So we're going to flip all these over here, and I love gnocchi. It's so good, and it's good as pasta sauce on it, and all those things. And it's just really good as a side dish. steak and fish or whatever you are feeling that night. So yeah, we're gonna let that kind of saute up even more, get a little more brown on the sides, and come back to it. All right, so now we have our beautiful Swiss chard. We've got the stalk mostly. There's a couple leaves in there. So we're gonna take some more olive oil because we love olive oil around here, and we're gonna saute this up first. Something I learned is that you don't want to over salt fresh greens from the garden, and it's because they have kind of a natural salt in them. So I have made the mistake many times, and so has my wife Annie. We'll salt it just like we normally would salt anything, like we salted the gnocchi over here, but you can't salt greens like that, especially fresh greens, because natural salt gets released, and then when you add salt, it releases the salt even more. So I'm going to put a tiny little bit of salt, so it doesn't get too salty, and then I'm going to saute this up a little while, and then we'll come right back to it. All right, everybody, so we're running out of daylight here, but that's okay. What you're seeing is the gnocchi is getting nice and crispy. Unfortunately, when you mess with the gnocchi too much, which I am probably doing, it falls apart a little bit, but you know what? That's okay. It's going to taste awesome. So check that one out. It is super crispy on both sides. They look like little, kind of like worms. It's kind of weird. It tastes so much better than worms. So our gnocchi is pretty much done, and it's going to be amazing. And then you see we've got our Swiss chard back here, and that's coming along real nice. And you can see it's starting to wilt. We've got our stems already kind of soft, so that's good. That's why I wound up putting the rest of it in here. So that's looking beautiful. And now we are going to go over here to our steaks. We've got New York strips tonight. Yeah, so they're looking really nice. And what we did here, we put some salt and pepper and some thyme. Some people are very traditionalist when it comes to steak, and they don't want to put anything but salt and pepper, and that's fine. We like herbs around here, so we put some herbs on the steak. And what I'm going to do, though, is I am going to drizzle just a little more olive oil. It seems to be a reoccurring theme around here. But the main reason I'm doing that is, these aren't the fattiest steaks. So chances are, if you have a pretty fatty steak, like a what's it called? What am I thinking? Like a Delmonico or a ribeye, same thing. And those tend to have a good amount of fat, and there's some good fat on here, but there's not much surface fat. There's kind of this fat on the side. So, but that's okay. So that's why we're using the olive oil to kind of so they don't stick, and they have a real nice crust. So back up here, Arden is my camera woman today, and she's doing an amazing job. So why don't you back up, Arden, and just keep your eye on the grill right there. And I'm going to take. Because these are doing a great job here, I'm just going to give these another Swiss chard. That is amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and put that. I love grilling all on one grill. It's pretty amazing. So here, keep the camera right there, Arden. And this is the hottest part of the grill right here. So we're on the right here. So I'm going to go ahead. The grill should be really hot when you put the steaks on, because you want it to have a really good quick sear right away. You want it to trap all the juices and everything in. You don't want it to just flow out. So we're going to let those sit. I'd say depending on where you want to be when you've done this, how well you want it to be cooked. I usually will let them go about 2 to 3 minutes. right, so you see we have some real nice grill marks here, so that's awesome. It's great, that's what you want. You want some real nice grill marks. And put this one in the back. So what I'm cooking on is a Pit Boss. It's called a Pit Boss pellet smoker. And it's a pretty awesome grill. It uses pellets. You can use it as a smoker. You can use it as a smoker. You can use it to slow smoke things for long periods of time. I've done like a whole huge chicken on this thing, and it does a great job. It's got this huge hopper that can put about 25 pounds of pellets in, and it'll just keep feeding it and keeping it at a constant temperature. So it's pretty awesome. I love it. So let's take a look at our gnocchi over here. It's looking even better. Look how crispy that is. So good. Yeah, look at the crispiness in that. Oh yeah, that's good stuff. The other side too. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. Now let's go over to our Swiss chard. It's looking pretty amazing. Another thing I like to do with the Swiss chard and other kinds of greens is I like to put garlic in, fresh garlic. So we did not do that tonight. That's decided last minute. Arden and I were going to make a really cool video of us cooking. And hopefully this will be the beginning of what is going to be a vlog about cooking and being on the farm and the homestead and all those fun things. So, all right, everybody. Well, the steaks are definitely done. And we have a little fire going on under the grill. So we're going to go ahead and take those off. Because they're finished product right here. We've got our New York strip, grilled New York strip steak with homegrown Swiss chard and crispy whole wheat gnocchi.